Hello and welcome. This is Montelibero Radio. It's the 1st of January of the new year, 2023, which is the living proof that we never give up our work. We are very committed and we're all here, all sober, of course, in the studio. And we are recording. Joining me in the studio is Michael Quarens.
Hello.
And our new guest, this is Ralf.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, how are you?
Good. Thank you very much.
Great. How do you like Montelibero so far?
So far, very nice. I have a very good impression, but I have to learn still a lot of things.
This is the intro section of our podcast where we just ask some basic questions about you, your life, how you came to be a libertarian. And here's a chance for you to ask questions some burning questions that you've got. And it's just going to be very, very casual. Like it's nothing, why are you here? That kind of thing. No, just chill, relax, make jokes and everything. So let's talk about where you're from originally.
Originally, I am from Germany. I was born there, went to school there, and after university, I actually went for 10 years to the United States.
Oh, interesting.
Married there, had children, and then we moved back to Germany, to Europe.
Mm-hmm.
Until just recently, when we started to look around for other places where we can live a little more freely than in Germany.
Right. What is it that you don't like about Germany and living there?
What I don't like is that there's a lot of people that think they have to tell other people how to live. And I'd like to do my life decisions on my own. I don't think I need anybody to tell me how I have to live. I mean, as long as I don't hurt anybody or kill anybody or anything like this, I think I should be left alone.
Well, can you give us any examples? Because I'm sure some of the people who are going to listen to this podcast have never been to Germany and they don't know what it's like to be living there.
Well, there's quite a few examples. So a big example was the Corona measures in Germany. Being locked in the houses for quite a while. Also for the children to have to wear masks in school for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
That was something that I did not believe in. At the beginning, I was still worried, of course, like many people, about the virus. But very fast, I noticed that something's not quite right there, and that. Basically, the virus is basically just being used to control people there. Also, politicians, what they said, most of the time didn't even make any sense if you really think about it. And what I found very strange is that a lot of people just believed it in Germany without questioning it. And if somebody started questioning it, the people were attacked basically right away, and that extended also to the workplace, where just normal people almost acted like police, policing that you wear your mask the right way, and making sure that you only come in the company when you're tested or vaccinated or something like this, and to me, that had nothing to do with any freedom of the so-called West that was always propagated to us.
May I intervene a bit? I would like to add for what you said. I've seen some videos of quite high German politicians of some top parties or something like that. It makes sense in the end when you hear messages like that. He said that this vaccination mandates and stuff, they actually use it to just let people know who is in charge. They want people to just to obey or something like that. They couldn't reverse that because they wanted people first of all to obey, and then they would remove. And I've been surprised seeing quite so high representative of the German society speaking something like that. I would probably get mad after that.
I thought from the beginning this is way too fast that they're coming out with this vaccination. Normally, a good tested vaccination takes 7, 8, 10 years, especially with a new type of medication that could have never been tested the right way, which now it seems like it's actually, it comes out more and more that it was true what I was thinking at that time. And but these people thought, okay, just because they did not have any side effects, everybody else also should not have side effects. Unfortunately, people are different, and that's what these big field tests are for, to find out if maybe a medication is reacting differently with other people. And it appears that a lot of people did have side effects from this vaccination. So why anybody would want to do that voluntarily, especially when we saw after a very short time after the vaccination that it did not have any effect. I mean, I know there's a lot of people still denying that, but I looked at studies from Britain, because Germany's studies were all fake, and even the official numbers in Germany was quite obvious that they kept changing them and were totally fake. But Britain had some numbers that looked decent, let's say it this way. I'm sure they were also playing with it, but at least they were not as faked as the German numbers. And it was quite obvious that vaccinated people are not more protected than unvaccinated people. And for me, that was clear that there's no reason to get a shot of a medicine that's not tested right.
Yeah.
I totally believe in science. Unfortunately, science has also been corrupted in the last years from large corporations.
Oh, the basic things of science, you don't have to believe this, actually. The thing is, you try to actually oppose any idea. This is basically for the science. Just you have a theory and you try to break it.
Yeah,
this is
exactly
how the science works. Actually, it's not about belief. Actually,
Yeah,
so this is the problem. They ask you to believe science. So
believe a certain,
not asking,
certain direction of science.
Yeah.
So certain scientists, let's say it this way, and they did not. And this is exactly opposing science if you do not listen to the other side. So
yeah. It would be so great if we had a scientist, a real scientist, a real doctor, or someone who knows something about vaccines in the role of Joe Rogan, for example, doing his own podcast or something, just telling the truth. But I wonder how quickly his voice would have been drowned.
Why would we need some special people for that while Joe Rogan himself taking people like that? They've been put down by the services. Joe Rogan himself, he had those scientists actually oppose the idea of taking vaccination, how coronavirus works, why it's not working like the politicians say, that we don't need to believe the science. They're very qualified people who had maybe not Nobel Prize winners, but close to it, some PhDs, trying to oppose the idea of the main narrative, so to say, and they were put down. And Joe Rogan trying himself to argue something like that, he had been forced to ask excuses or something like that, and he lost some of his podcasts with those scientists.
Yeah, I
and
know.
stuff. Yeah, there have been this history. So yeah, as you said, if they will try to speak out, they will probably go there too.
yeah, as I said, everything having to do with Corona at that time was very heavily censored. So that's what they took out a lot. And not only that, we had quite a few doctors in Germany that spoke out about being careful, not rushing into the vaccination, and even seeing the negatives already ahead of time of this vaccination. And they got all kinds of issues, lawsuits for really crazy reasons. I mean, yes, there are laws for such things probably in place, but this is nothing that anybody would say, okay, that needs to be now going to a court or anything like this. But they use these minor things to shut these different voices up. That was basically what they're trying to do.
I see.
Yeah. Also, I have the feeling our political class is not really the smartest people. I'm wondering how people like this actually get in positions like this, where they can rule over all the people. When you hear them, we have one, the foreign minister. It's a lady. She claims she was studying in London for a year. I mean, she does not have middle school English level. If you listen to her, she was never ever did she study in England, because in 1 year of living in England, you will for sure learn more than what she knows. It is unbelievable. I mean, she was caught cheating on her resumes. Basically, she moved, the websites were moved around several times on the resume.
Classic.
And then finally, she couldn't be the chancellor anymore, which she certainly wanted to become. And they moved somebody else there in that position. It's what's very strange. The whole thing during the corona. It opened my eyes a little bit. Before, I was blind, busy with the family and things like this. But that was just a little bit too much during the corona times, where they tried taking freedoms away. And I noticed that we are not as free as it was claimed to be. I don't think between like Russia and the West, Europe, and America, and even China, there's not such a big difference anymore.
Totally agree.
It's very close to each other, and the political class, for some reason, they think they have to control people, and this is not what I want from them. I don't want anything from the government, but I also don't want them to interfere with my life. That's basically what it comes down to.
How do you think about the idea that actually we just got to know more? We just have the internet, we have cameras all over the world. We actually just started to observe the reality. We moved out of delusions. They can't control so much people anymore with mass media and saying the things we should believe in. Maybe there is no difference actually, but the only difference that we are getting to know the facts.
That for sure is true. That these new medias, these like sometimes one-man shows, are changing people's minds, but also they were trying to control. I mean, there were these narratives. Oh, you shouldn't be listening to these people. They are all Nazis and these kind of things. This is always in Germany. This is a very bad thing to say to somebody. If there's a Nazi, they're all afraid right away, for a reason. And so they tried to prevent people from listening to these alternative media. I had several conversations with it. Other people told me, "Oh, you cannot trust what they tell you. They try to influence you and into a certain way and
brainwash you."
But on the other hand, I did not understand that they're being brainwashed by the normal media. And I find that also very sad. I'm actually a proponent of this government media. The idea in Germany is quite good. There was supposed to be an independent media that is just telling the facts. Unfortunately, obviously, it was taken over by the government, and they are only reporting things that the government likes in the moment.
It's quite natural, actually, for the government to own things and to...
So why not America then? You're speaking about Germany, so you've worked for a long time in USA. So why not America then?
In my opinion, America is in the moment. Well, I shouldn't say America. Mm-hmm. Many states in America are probably very similar to what Germany is like right now. There are some states, I would say Texas, Florida, that are acting a little bit different. And it seems like also a lot of people that are believing in independence are moving there more and more. I know that out of California, a lot of people are leaving because they can't stand it anymore there. There's not that many places you can really go in the United States. Also, What is a big problem in the States is the healthcare system. It's very expensive, not very good. I know there are some new, more independent systems now as well, but still living is very expensive in the United States. So we would have had to save a lot more money in order to sustain ourselves in the US compared to with Montenegro.
And have you considered moving to New Hampshire, which is the original libertarian state?
We have not really considered that, no. Of course, I know about that project as well, but because of the higher costs over there, we have never really considered it, really. And also, we've heard from American friends that it never really got traction. For example, I heard yesterday that South Dakota was actually more free during the Corona times. They had less measures than New Hampshire had.
Oh,
interesting.
That's funny.
And these people were actually thinking of going to this project, but after that experience, that they lived more freely in South Dakota, then they decided not to go there anymore.
Well, do you think you would have been happier if you had spent this COVID quarantine in America, not in Germany?
Depends totally on the state. I think it would have been better in Texas or Florida, where they had very minimum measures.
Mm-hmm.
But like California, I don't think there would have been any difference. Also, even Illinois, we have relatives in Illinois. From what we hear there, it was pretty much the same thing. Even though they cut back the measures a lot longer. On the other hand, also, to be honest, I'm not an American citizen, and I would not even be able to go legally to the United States because they still have the measure that people have to be vaccinated there if you're not American citizen or resident.
That's like branding, cattle branding.
Yes, it
bit.
certainly is. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that. Yeah, and your whole life, like part of your life is there, and it's so sad to know that you won't be able to actually enter the country where you have relatives, your wife was born there, and it's crazy.
Well, I hope that this law will fall sometime, hopefully soon. But in the moment, as far as I know, it's still in place. Even though, from what I've heard, it's not always enforced. However, buying an airplane ticket, and then being rejected at the airport is also not that funny.
Yeah, I guess not. Well, you said you lived there for 10 years. And I would like to ask you about the press and the freedom of press there. Compared to Germany, do they have more independent press?
No, certainly not. I've always noticed where we were living that they hardly bring any international news. It was mostly local news that you see on TV. If you wanted to see international news, you had to put CNN on. There's also this private station, NPR, which is living from donations. I usually tuned into that one. But I think it's more a little bit of a left-wing radio station. But compared to all these other corporate media, I think the news from NPR was still better than what you could get from any other corporate station. Free, I do not think it's all controlled by some corporation or some oligarchs, basically, in the US.
But at least it's not like in Germany where there are government-funded media. So the theory goes that, okay, when we have a lot of independent media, they're supposed to be telling their version of the truth, and by listening to both sides, you'll be able to get the bigger picture. And I don't know how it works in reality.
I think really these media oligarchs, they're all after the money. In the end, they're united, I guess, even though if they fight themselves under the table or something like this. But they're quite united in suppressing the real information, I think. Of course, now there are also some independent media. I think Joe Rogan is one of the most watched broadcasters right now. in the United States. And the corporate media is actually losing viewers and listeners. But yeah, it's still, they reach still a lot of people, especially the older people. They're still used to watching the normal TV and the normal news, and they're influenced by that for sure.
Right. What do you think prevents other independent media in the United States to appear, just like Joe Rogan and NPR that you mentioned earlier?
Well, it's very hard. Like on YouTube, if you don't have any followers, it's hard to create more followers. And if you don't have any budget, advertising budget or anything like this, just from nothing, it will take most likely years, even if you're a good content creator, to appear on YouTube on top. And YouTube is still one of these stations that most people watch. I mean, there's other platforms now, of course, coming up as well, but still YouTube. If you're not on YouTube, hardly anybody's gonna know you. That's still the problem.
Yeah, that's so sad. And I know they have censorship, but less censorship than other media.
I think in the Corona times, YouTube had really heavily censorship.
Oh.
Everything that had to do with COVID or the vaccinations or whatever, they all had to watch out what they said. Now it appears that people are more free to say things, let's say, about the war. They can have their opinion there without being censored right away. I think I've noticed that. I'm not sure, because if a platform is censored, you don't hear from it anymore and you may forget about it. But the platforms that I'm watching so far, nobody has disappeared.
Well, you've mentioned that older people are used to this traditional media, watching TV mainly. But what about the young people of America? According to some of the films and TV shows that I've watched that come from America, from Hollywood, they seem unaware and, let's be honest, pretty ignorant of what's going on in the world. Is it close to the truth?
That is very close to the truth. Americans are not very concerned about international politics at all. They are more concerned about their daily livelihood.
Right.
They're very busy in their lives. They have hardly any vacation. They can't think about going on large, long overseas vacations. I mean,
Right,
some people,
right.
of course, do it, but they are quite brave, in my opinion. If either they have rich parents and who can pay it, but normal, average people, they're so busy in their lives with their children, all these things. They don't have the mind for like international politics. Also, I think in school, history and geography and whatever is not very well taught in the United States.
Okay.
So they're mainly concerned about themselves and not so much about the outside world.
Well, now that you've said it, that kind of made me wonder how on earth the Free State Project even appeared in America, considering all these facts.
Yeah, that's a good question. I really don't know that much about the Free State in the US and how that appeared. I just know of it.
Right.
Actually, when I found you guys, then I researched a little bit about the Free State.
Oh, interesting.
So it went the other way around.
We are the original Free
Yes.
State Project for you. Okay,
For me, it
we're
is
honored.
Yeah, well, I was researching about Montenegro because we already have some connections here, and we were here quite a few times already. And so I came through Montenegro, I came to the other Free State. I never called myself before a libertarian. It's it's a word you can call yourself, but I just think living a free life, everybody should be able to do that. And I'm a little bit surprised that it seems like people don't like that. That people don't like to live a free life. They want to be controlled by the government. This is not anything I can understand.
It's not that they like to be controlled. It just seems to me that it's easier to live their lives knowing that someone watches them, keeps an eye on them, that kind of thing.
I believe people thought this way, just simply they have no other idea.
Yeah, exactly. They don't know
this
the
is the thing
alternative.
we've been discussing here a few times,
Uh-huh.
that this is actually quite new school of thinking. It's not that new, but it's never been like on public between people, between a lot of people. People just don't know the alternatives. They just try the old way, just choosing the better government over the bad government. This is the process which is people are used to, or probably trying to bring the idea people that we can actually try and change the system itself, not trying to removing governments, which basically works the same every time because it's people, human, with the same potential for primordial evil. If you have the opportunity to do bad things, a lot of people will do them. We have a lot of potential to do harm. So the idea is to change the system itself. So we can't. So just some people, bad governments, good governments, can't just harm people so much. They will have those shackles, those public shackles, something like that.
Right. Yeah, like people are used to thinking in this paradigm of, the trolley problem. Either you kill one person or you kill 4 people, but you're gonna have to kill someone. And it's very difficult to think outside the box. Like maybe it's just one picture and one way of looking at it. Well, in any case, was there one thing that you actually liked in America? What are some of the positives of living there? I mean, like, it's something that libertarians still admire because, it gave people new hope back in the days. It was created out of the necessity to think differently, to change the old rules. And no matter where it is now, like, how much does it feel like this atmosphere of freedom in America? Like, it's you've probably heard of the American dream and everything, and that people can actually make lots of money by using their own mind. And I just wonder how much of it is still there.
Well, I think much of the American dreams story is a myth. Most people will never make it from this small bartender or a dish cleaner to a millionaire. There are certainly a few, and they are pushed into the media and shown around. Look at him. But the average person will not do that. It's like pretty much everywhere else. You are born either into a certain class. If you have rich parents, it's very easy to be also make a lot of money. But if you have very poor parents, you have almost no chance to go up the ladder.
Yeah.
I think that's pretty much the same story in every country. You have to be extremely tough, and most people are just not like that, to kind of break out of your class, also in the United States. I mean, the country itself, it has a beautiful landscape, especially out west. It's a vast country. I mean, nothing compared to Russia, of course. I mean, for you laugh about it most likely, but for a German, it's not so densely populated. The country, that is nice for sure. And as long as you don't do anything against the law, you're pretty much being left alone as well. But what I've always noticed in the United States also was the high presence of police everywhere. I mean, you see them everywhere in the streets. At that time, I was not used to so much in Germany. Still in Germany, it's not that high of a presence of police, but it's also, it feels like it's getting more and more that they're controlling people.
Maybe it has something to do with the Second Amendment, the right to bear arms, I think. Maybe if you lived in a state where people are allowed to bear arms in public, they thought it might be actually a good idea to add more police force.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure about that. I mean, I'm in Texas, as far as I know, you're allowed to wear openly a weapon.
Yep.
And where we lived, to my knowledge, it has to be concealed. But I'm not quite sure how these weapon laws are there. I'm not an expert for sure. But I did not notice a difference between these two states, for example. I've been traveling around in the US quite a bit, different states and so on, but never noticed a big difference. What I've noticed as a kid, in my 20s, when I was traveling there, you could not just pull over and sleep overnight in your car or whatever without a policeman knocking at your door at night. Which I think in Europe this is quite common. That if you're tired, you pull over and just sleep a few hours in your car when you're traveling around, and there you get immediately in trouble. I've noticed it several times, and also heard it from friends that did also travel in the US. I'm not quite sure what all these homeless people are actually doing that live there in the US. I mean, many people live in their cars. They probably have to hide somewhere in order to do that kind of things. Yeah, not quite sure. So freedom, total freedom, certainly is not there in America either.
That is sad. I wonder, because you've lived in both countries, in Germany and the United States, I wonder how different the political systems are between, in these two countries. Because I know that in America, at least, the system of checks and balances is a little bit more foolproof, I guess. We've seen what happens when it isn't, like in the case of Russia. Unfortunately, it wasn't foolproof. But isn't that supposed to keep the whole system more stable?
Yes. Honestly, at the time when I was in the United States, I did not really focus that much on politics, and also not so much on the system. So what I say now, maybe not be right. I'm not 100% sure. It is more foolproof than it is in Europe also. Russia, I actually don't know much about it, because the media, the way our media portrays Russia, no matter what, is somewhat tweaked in one direction or the other. I don't think I get a clear picture there. I would have to probably be in the country for quite a while in order to understand a little bit and probably also speak the language, which I'm far from, to get a real understanding there. I would not dare to make a statement in regards to Russia. And it seems like also that there were indeed some more checks and balances in place, and it looks like that also the lawsuits against the big vaccination corporations are going on in the United States now, even though at the time when it was needed, not much happened there either. So, but Germany, for example, is still trying to keep everything under a lid. Everybody who says that vaccinations are dangerous to a certain group of people, they're still put down, and for them it's all a lie. And some people react really crazy, in my opinion. Even it's like you offend them personally if you say anything against the vaccination.
It's horrible.
I found a bit on topic of Joe Rogan's episodes being put down. The guy is Dr. Malone, has been banned from Twitter before those episodes was put down on YouTube. I believe on
Spotify because
probably, yeah.
Joe Rogan
has a contract with them. Yeah,
exactly.
Right? So this is Dr. Malone. He was involved in creating the mRNA technology that helped creating the Pfizer's and vaccines. So he's quite an expert. He been saying, as they say, controversial comments on this, the Joe Rogan show being put down. So we have actually scientists trying to speak out. We have a lot of them actually. You can find those controversial comments of those quiet experts, but they just put them down.
But does it say if this doctor is reinstated on Twitter now that Elon Musk
that's
to go?
exactly.
Probably the other story. I need to Google more, but I won't at the moment. But maybe this is an interesting question. Yeah.
But going back to Germany, how much has the situation changed now? Because as I understand, you were in Germany maybe a month ago, just a while ago. Do they still have these laws? Have they not revoked them? You still have to wear a mask and everything?
Yeah, Germany, when I left before Christmas, they still had to wear masks in buses and trains.
So they haven't relaxed any of those laws?
They have relaxed some of them, but for buses, it is still there. So it's not in stores anymore. Before you had to also wear masks when you went shopping. There are still people voluntarily wearing masks in the stores. But however, that rate is going to be less and less, and I suspect it's maybe some people that have some kind of another disease, sickness,
other
or something
issues.
like that. They're afraid, just afraid of it.
Of course.
Which is fine. I have no problems with other people wearing it, but don't push it on me. That's basically what it is.
What about QR codes and everything?
QR codes, I don't think they are there anymore. I'm not sure. I really never used it myself. The QR code, I never needed it. Even with traveling, I was always traveling at times when it was not really needed. When you just had to have a test was enough. Was not necessary to have the vaccination itself. I know also in Montenegro had a short time where vaccination was necessary to enter the country, but that's not the time when I traveled.
I never heard of that.
Either a vaccination or the test.
PCR test, PCR test. I came here with the PCR test just that time.
Yeah, most of the time it was that way, but I think there was a short period, maybe 2 weeks or so. Where
maybe, and then they decided to not go on.
Yeah, this is tourist country, so they can't allow themselves to.
Not only because of this, I think, but also because it's one of the most armed countries in Europe, and they just don't want to mess with the.
This is something. Yeah, this is something we love this country, but
right, absolutely.
How do you like the idea being able to shoot actually as mandatory is like in Switzerland? They have some laws actually making it mandatory for people to for men, I believe, being able to shoot to have a weapon. What do you think about that?
I think there's a lot of people in Switzerland that have to join the army, and they actually take the weapons home. I think that's mainly because they are afraid of Germany being invading them again or something like this. I don't know. I don't quite know. But in the end, it seems to work. It's not like the crime rate is anywhere close to the US in Switzerland. So it doesn't seem to be the issue that people have weapons. There must be somewhere a different issue. The weapons themselves don't seem to be the issue.
I also wanted to ask you about people in Germany and how they feel about the government now that they've seen what happened during the coronavirus. Like how many of them started to see the true picture. Maybe there are some libertarian parties already in Germany, and maybe there are some leaders of opinions that are sort of going right and anti-government even.
I think as a whole, most people did not see it, even though more and more people notice that these corona measures did not really do what they were supposed to do. That is quite clear. There is a party that I know of, Die Basis, it's called, the foundation. That was right from the beginning was against all these measures and taking people's rights away. However, as far as I understand, they have not been able to get above 1% of the votes, which is very disturbing, honestly. On the other hand, there is this party, AfD. It's a more right-wing party. I do also not know much about them. I don't follow them that much. Every once in a while, I hear a politician of them speaking. He doesn't sound so stupid, but I think they have other people also that have huge issues with foreigners and things like this. I have no really idea, but I know that the normal media is totally against this AfD party, and that makes me suspicious. If they speak out about something like this, it typically is not as bad as they say it, or it's probably exactly the opposite. Maybe they're not even that bad. But I've lost really trust in politics and parties. I think, like you mentioned in the beginning, I think we need an entirely new system. Parties will not fix it because they will be. It doesn't matter which party is going to be there.
This is exactly the conversation we had with the Italian libertarians who actually came here once. They've been saying that they have a libertarian party which is not popular. Nobody knows about it. And I just put this idea on the table that people don't know actually that there is some other alternatives. They just we need to make people know at least that there is maybe we should change a bit the system, not trying to move the tables, the same
move
people.
The pawns.
Move the pawns to different.
Unfortunately, most people cannot envision changing the system. They grew up with this. They were taught in school. This is the way it has to be. They cannot envision an entire different system for us. They think this is the best they can have. They don't see anything else.
So going back to what you were saying about Germany, you're quite pessimistic about its future, at least in the next 50 years or so.
Yes, I am, especially now with the war going on and not the pipelines being blown up. Of course, we were always told Germany is rich because we are genius engineers and we make the greatest machines in the world. However, I think the truth is also that we had very cheap energy from Russia in the time. We were, compared to Asia, able to compensate the higher labor costs with that cheap energy. And now that this cheap energy is gone, I think Germany will have a very tough time in the world market. So yeah, we'll see. I hope I'm actually wrong. I don't want this country to go under completely, but the way things are going in the moment is not a good way, and also it seems politics has not really understood what's going on in the country. What disturbs me also is that nobody from the big companies is speaking up. You would think the big corporations, they would tell the governments, hey guys, what are you're in the wrong way in the moment. You have to change course a little bit. You're hurting us more than you hurt Russia with these sanctions. However, I have not heard many voices in that regard. They're very quiet. Maybe there's backroom discussions going on, but yeah, I don't hear much in public about that.
I think any politician who would say something like this in public would commit political suicide right now.
That is, yeah, that's very likely correct, and that is something that is also not an indication of a democratic country. People should be able to speak up what they think and not just follow one certain narrative. And if you deviate a little bit left or right from it, you're automatically some kind of, I don't know, whatever. Nazi is always the good word in Germany.
Yeah. The same in Italy. You know, those libertarians who came over to us in November. Yeah, they said they've been called Nazis and fascists and everything. Yeah, just because their opinion just tends to be different, happens to be different from the majority. Right. Well, those people who already see the whole picture and who have, you know, lifted the blindfold, whatever this is, why can't they move elsewhere?
Well,
what holds them back in Germany?
I think most people are held back by their job, their income. Not everybody can work online. A lot of people are held back by their children or family. It's not like everybody can just move out. I have older children already that have their own opinion. They wanted to finish schooling, even though they see the problems, but they at least want to have the paperwork to build on at a later time. And that still is a few years, and that is for us the reason why we cannot really leave the country completely yet. We try to spend as much time in Montenegro as we can as a family, but it's limited because of that. On the other hand, I know of a lot of families, also German families, that are here in Montenegro that left for the children. So because they saw the measures that these kids had to follow in schools, and they said that they can't be. We have to leave the country because of it. And what makes it also very difficult in Germany is that the children have to be present in the school building. You cannot do homeschooling in Germany. That is not allowed.
Yeah, terrible.
That is a very old law. I think it actually comes from the Nazi time. Because they wanted to create soldiers at that time.
Right.
And that makes it very difficult. You basically have to leave the country. And interesting, okay, it's not representative, but I've met so many families where at least one parent is a teacher. And they say, we cannot do this to the children. I understand that these people don't want to be part of that system. On the other hand, them leaving the system leaves only the other side of the people in teaching in Germany. There is not much other left. It's all these woke people that supposedly are so good and everything is right what they're doing. And if you really look a little bit deeper, it's not so right what they're doing. I actually see a lot of things that are not right that I would not do.
So have you already discussed why Montenegro? No?
No. Well, actually, I had a question for you. If you could move anywhere in the world, like where money would not be the issue, same goes for the job, which country would you choose? Because it's very hard. Like we have very limited choices these days in the year 2023.
I think if I was absolutely free, I would maybe move to one of the Caribbean islands. Mexico could also be a possibility. I have not seen it during the Corona time, how it was there. I know that I believe Mexico never shut the doors for unvaccinated people. You could always travel there.
Yeah, true.
On the other hand, I saw pictures that a lot of people also in public wore masks, where they were also very afraid of catching something. However, this from looking far, I certainly would look at the country first before finally moving there. I would not just pack up. Some people do that actually. I think they're very brave. But I'm not that type of person that I just pack up everything and just move the entire family there. But I think the Caribbean islands, that could be a place where we could live if we had unlimited money. Unfortunately, they're quite expensive to live at, so it's not an option for us. And the reason why Montenegro is it's not an EU country yet. So the arm of the EU is limited here, even though they follow a lot of things that are dictated to them. However, they still have their own things, how they deal with it. Not every law is really obeyed here in Montenegro or in the Balkans. Mm-hmm. They have their own mind. And you mentioned the weapons.
Yeah, exactly.
It's a kind of thing. It's a relatively inexpensive country. That helps.
Yeah, I know some people actually go to Montenegro just for the winter, because energy prices are sky high in Europe.
I can see that. Yes, they are indeed sky high. However, I think you need. Yeah, okay. It's cheaper to heat a house here for sure. It's not so high. But I would like to live here all year long. I would not just live there in the winter. But it's certainly a nicer climate in Montenegro than it is in Germany. However, just today, I think it was the warmest day ever in Germany. My dad told me it's 20 degrees Celsius in Germany today. So it was probably even warmer. And of course, now probably this big CO2 debate is going to come up, the global warming and all these things, because there was one day that it was warmer than usual.
I'm sure they're going to use this
to
their own advantage.
Yeah.
Right. Is it your first time in Montenegro?
No, I've been here several times. We actually own property here. We bought it last year. And we come here as much as we can. Every holiday, basically, we used to come here. We have made a lot of friends here, like-minded friends. While in Germany, it's sometimes very difficult. The conversations, everybody's trying to turn around this COVID topic. Nobody wants to mention it until somebody is brave enough to say, "Are you vaccinated?"
Before I talk with you.
Yeah. So here, it's like-minded people mainly. Yeah.
That's great. Yeah, I've heard that the German community is quite quite active here in the country.
Yeah, there are quite a few people here. I don't know how many. Many of them are a little bit further south on the coast, up in the mountains a little bit. It's a large community, mainly built around a couple that started here selling plots and houses. They also help with other services there as well. So that attracted a lot of people to Montenegro, especially the people that feel somehow that Germany is getting too small for them, even though Montenegro is a lot smaller. But also many people also want to be close to the ocean or the sea. In that case, it's not the ocean. Want to be close at the sea. And the weather certainly attracts a lot of people here.
Oh, yeah, definitely. Well, that's great to actually know that. We should probably get in touch with them, see how we can cooperate, if in any way. We just don't know how big this community is, the one that you're talking about.
Yeah, you said once before, we've spoken a bit a few days ago, and you said that the Germans here, they have an idea of the project of the movement of the kind we have here right now. And you said that they're quite interested in that. What really? So they have the same thoughts on things, at least close to what we believe in and stuff like that. Yes. Can you speak about it a bit more?
Yes, they have these thoughts. They don't want to be controlled by the government, basically. For a few of them, it was limited to the corona measures. Other things they believe. The narrative that they're hearing about the Ukraine war, they still believe. To me, that's not quite clear how you can see on one hand that you're being lied at from the media, and then on the other hand you believe the other narrative. But it is the case. It's not like if you don't believe the corona that you also don't believe what they're telling you about the war. Mm-hmm. The number, I think it's probably several hundred German people here in the Bar area that are settling. Some of them are going back and forth between Germany and here. They're building slowly something up, building their houses, and it is a significant community here. And I think it would be quite interesting for your movement here also to get in contact with them. Some people I've already tried talking to. They're not very interested. I've heard already, I don't want to be in contact with any organization or anything like this. It's more like this club thing they're afraid of.
Yeah, that's understandable.
Yeah. Other people said, it's quite interesting, but their English maybe not that great and Russian even less. So I think conversation between you guys might be a little more difficult. But if I can help there, I would gladly help to kind of be a bridge between these two cultures.
We've already been visited by a couple of gentlemen from the community. I think that's the same community that you're talking about. And they were quite interested in buying some more land and settling down, etc. But I haven't caught up, with them recently. Like, I don't know where they are at the moment with their plans. I mean, so yeah, that would be great. I mean, we wouldn't have to speak on a daily basis and say like, okay, how things but basically we are facing the same challenges. Yeah, and because we're all immigrants, we all feel kind of powerless, and we have the same threats. By the way, how do you evaluate some of the threats of settling down, building houses, and maybe starting a little community here in Montenegro as an immigrant, as someone who is not, because Montenegro is not part of the EU? Do you think it would be safe for the time being, or in the next 10 years, 20 years?
Well, I hope it will be safe. I don't think there's complete safety anywhere in the world nowadays anymore, or it probably never was. So we can only hope, and I think we have to be flexible, all of us. If things turn the wrong way, then we have to move on. That may be necessary for the next years or for the rest of our lives, possibly. For now, I feel relatively safe. what's not so clear is like the building laws and the zoning and things like this. I'm a little bit worried that this changes suddenly, and then all of a sudden it can be used against us, or can be used to get a lot of tax money or something like this from us. This is one of the things that I'm a little bit unsure about. Other than that, I have the feeling people are being left alone mainly, and also the Montenegrins, they don't like to be told by anybody what they have to do. That is already a good thing, that they don't just follow what the government is telling them, like a lot of people in Germany are doing.
They're quite rebellious against a lot of initiatives.
They are known to be quite independent.
Yeah.
They've suffered several wars here in this area. They know the government in the end doesn't help them. They have to be independent. So that should probably help. But the entire Balkans is, I think, has a similar attitude to that.
True.
So,
well, how did you find Montelibero?
I actually don't entirely remember anymore how I found it. Certainly, I'm involved also in Germany with a small group of 10 people that had the idea of kind of building a small community somewhere in south of Europe, southeast of Europe, and that community has decided with like a chart we made to kind of evaluate the different points that were important to us. They decided to look into Bulgaria. However, we've had already our land here in Montenegro. So I was looking a little bit between Bulgaria and Montenegro. Is there already a community possibly here in Montenegro? Because in my opinion, it does not make much sense to start anything from scratch if there is already a movement. And then I found that you already are at least 100 people here in the area. I mean, the Russian website deterred me a little bit. It's hard to read for me.
It's hard to read for me too. Honestly, it's not just you.
We have an English version, I believe, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's I think it's Russian, and then underneath it's in English. I think it would be better to have different pages for each language.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
To be honest, like not many people can actually locate the English version, and it's just Google Translate, I think, mostly. So we're working on that. We have several projects active.
We have a lot of projects.
Yes, and not enough people
exactly
to man them. But do you have any questions for us now that you're here? Maybe there's something that you wanted to ask us at MTL Lunch, which you visited. I know you did. And you've seen us in action, right? You've seen some of the clubs, you've seen some of our activities, and you've met some of the people in our community. Maybe there's something that, pops in your mind.
I actually have a question about your currency, the MTL euro.
Yeah.
It is backed by the euro. What would happen if the euro would crash for whatever reason? Like Italy cannot pay their debt anymore, and the entire eurozone is going to fall apart. What would happen to the MTL euro?
Well, it is linked to the actual euro because it's actually easier for us to exchange the money. It's a stable coin, so you can easily enter this market and you can buy however many euro MTL you want. But if this were to happen, I think we'll just switch on to something else like USDT, and this would be the stable coin for the US or US dollar or the USDT or something like that.
So there would not be a loss in that moment, because right now it's backed with euros that are held by somebody or some groups, and if that backing would fall away because the money is not worth anything anymore, isn't then the MTL also worthless?
Yeah, but probably this is the risk you can avoid in any form. Yeah, I believe. Maybe.
The good thing is that like EuroMTL itself is backed by the fund, which has other tokens such as the MTL token, and only, as far as I know, only about 20 to 30% of it is cash. And other assets include gold, Bitcoin, and we've invested a lot in different businesses that are working independently of this monetary system.
Okay.
So the EUR-MTL is also the product of the fund, which is supported by different resources, some hard assets and some soft assets, if I can say so.
Okay, understand. Another question would be, how do you actually become a member of Montelibero?
Maybe you can.
Yeah, I answered once such a question. It's like the movement itself as a Montelibero, you just can declare that you are into the movement, that you just share the ideas, but like with any other movement, most of the movements, people declare themselves conservatives, Republicans, socialists, whatever they want. So people can call themselves into the Monteliberian, Libertarian, like they are into the movement, basically, and we can't prevent people saying things. So I don't believe there is such a thing like a specific mechanism of becoming a member. So you can just get in touch with people, get to know people. You can speak with people, and if you are considered into the big group of the people who are into the movements, people as long as the people say that you are just well, can even say like that. Do you have an idea what I'm talking about?
I think I do. Well, we've got supporters, members of this community, of this movement rather than community, everywhere in the world. And you don't really have to be residing in Montenegro in the first place to be part of the movement, as long as you support the initiative, right, and share some of the values. I mean, you don't even have to be a libertarian. But if you feel what we're doing, trying to do here is close to your mindset, like the way you see the world, that already makes you a potential member of the community. And we've been discussing this question about what would serve as a passport of a member of Montelibero. And we came up with this idea that, like, as long as you have some MTL, at least one MTL, you can buy it on my MTL wallet and Lobster. That's it. That's basically it. You have officially become our supporter because you are backing, at least in a little way, but you're backing the fund, which is doing what you think is right.
So there's basically no other membership fee besides investing into the fund?
No, you can feel free to donate, of course, but that's it, basically.
Do you guys help your members to relocate to Bar?
Yeah, we do. Right after the war started, we launched this urgent relocation program for those people who were stuck in Ukraine and in Russia, also in Belarus, who were somehow affected by the military activities. Some of our members, in fact, the founder, one of the founders, is Ukrainian, and he relocated here in December 2020, before there was any movement here. And he offered his services because he's already quite experienced here. He's lived here for quite a while, and he offered his services with the documents and everything, and also financial support, of course. We also, it wasn't related to libertarians or members of our community per se, but some of us volunteered just to help those people who had to relocate urgently, and they donated their things, some money, etc. And they worked in the local community center just to help out those people and to help with the kids and everything, because there was a big influx of newcomers, and they went everywhere in Europe. I think in Germany more than in Montenegro, I'm sure, but because I've heard so many stories of trains coming from Ukraine, trains coming to Germany, and with so many people completely disoriented, not knowing what to do, etc. And there were also volunteers here. So we haven't really seen that many people, but certainly some of those people who had to relocate or who had to escape the war ended up in Montenegro and in Bar. And of course, to those people that I talked about, like they did their best to make them feel at home and everything. Even right now, you can actually find the checklist of what you need to do before moving to Montenegro if you're willing to do so. You can find our forums, you can actually find our chats on the official Telegram channel or channels, because we've got the English version and the Russian version. You can ask questions if you have any. And the best thing we can do to support you is by giving you relevant advice, because we've already been through these situations. We know what it's like. We know how much time you would need to wait for the documents, the residence permit, and how to get it. What are some of the best ways? So we can actually make it easier for you, make it a smoother transition from one country to another. And I'm sure that's a lot already. So yeah, we're doing our best.
We also have a lot of groups of the community in the Telegram, which are related to the local medicine, local documents, local anything, any activities. Sometimes we have a lot of groups, and getting there, you just can ask for any information. Basically, we know almost everything we need.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can even take out credit in your MTL these days. There are people who provide such services, and you can exchange your money, whichever country you come from, into euros or your MTLs, depending on whichever is applicable. So yeah.
That means you can also buy or exchange euros into MTL and basically transfer money this way?
Absolutely, yes.
Like instead of using the bank for money transfer, you could also do that?
Absolutely, yes. This is the system that we have established, and it's been very helpful, especially to those people who had to relocate urgently and they still had some money in their account, and the bank cards didn't work because of a single fact that they were Russians. Like, this is what they are guilty of, right? And of course, this was a way, and we have a few people who we call
exchangers.
Exchangers, yes, exactly, who will be happy to help you, of course, for a small fee, but it's still...
Yeah, they can receive, for example, rubles in Russia, rubles, yeah, and they will receive it there.
Also, hryvnias in Ukraine.
And almost any kind of currency, and they give you here, send you some euro MTLs, for example.
Yeah. Or USDT, you can exchange it directly to your MTL or hard cash.
Yeah, and you have almost like a bank account for the services we can provide, for example. You have... We are trying to involve as many businesses as we can into the system, so it would be actually like real bank account, almost.
Yeah, absolutely. You can buy food, you can actually get some services, you can have your telephone fixed, all for your MTL, and you don't even need to exchange it back to euros. So this is how we try to support its stability as well.
I think that's very interesting for a lot of people. As a matter of fact, I got into Bitcoin because our bank refused to transfer money here to Montenegro to fund our Montenegrin company for safety reasons.
Oh, damn.
Right.
And that
for your own good.
For my own good, yes, of course.
They have the right to decide, of course, what you do. What
they know better. Yeah.
And that was good advertising for Bitcoin at that time. And I was looking into that because I said this can't be that my bank decides where I transfer my money to. And that's my own money and not theirs. At least I see it this way. I think the banks see it differently.
The Bitcoin is super cool, but it's the main problem is it's not stable. This is why we implemented this collage, if we can say that, stable coin. We're trying to use stable coins so we can exchange actually. So basically we buy stuff here in the club for Euro MTLs, and so they can refill their stocks easily. We just use like stable coins. They can cash out the Euro MTLs into the real cash and go to the magazine, for example. Shops, yes. The shops. One of our dreams right now is to have some of shops who would provide us with the stuff for Euro MTLs. That would be so perfect. We wouldn't need to cash out the member MTLs to go to the markets to buy stuff here, for example, into the club.
Yeah, but because of the government regulations here in the country, that seems not possible at the moment, but we are working towards that because they have tax service and revenue services that control all the shops and all the checkouts, and they can just come in at any time on any day and check how much money they've got in the cash register, and then check if everything matches, right? That's what we've been told. But yeah, theoretically it can work. I know that some of the people actually pay their rent using your MTL.
Okay, that's nice.
So yeah, join us and join our financial system if you feel a little bit inhibited by the government or the banks and anything like that, because we know that we've been there, we've experienced it ourselves, and this is why we've come up with this solution, which I think works quite well. Is there anything else that you wanted to ask us?
Oh, on the website, it mentions that you have a few leaders. How does that match up with the libertarian thinking?
Maybe that's kind of old information, because whatever leaders you've got in a decentralized system makes very little sense, right? Anyone can come up with their own initiative as long as they adhere to the NAP principle, non-aggression principle. That's fine. I wouldn't say like we have like leaders, but we have leaders of opinions, and we have the founders.
We can call them quite leaders in a way. Leader is not something bad if you follow it voluntarily, for example. So we have someone who opened up the club. He is quite a probably leader who actually build up stuff, making this. So in a way, we listen to him more carefully and stuff. So, and this is it. You don't have to agree with him or something like that and stuff. Just someone who making more work, for example. Just in this sense, we don't have bosses. We don't have someone who decides. We just have some more.
We've got a lot of freedom when it comes to doing whatever you
totally
you want and following your heart.
All the things we do, just if you wanted to do, you just do it. If you don't want to do, you don't do it. We don't have leaders in this sense that someone who decides what we will do. There is no such thing. We have those people who offer us what we should do, what we can do, and we decide, is this make sense or no? Do we want to do that? No, something like that.
And we should also probably go back to the financial system and talk a little bit about those people who own MTLs. I said that as long as you have at least one MTL, you can officially claim yourself to be a member of Montelibero community, and it's not really going to cost you that much or anything. It's just a little gesture, token of whatever appreciation. But those people who actually have invested heavily into the system, like the top 20 investors, including myself, they have a right to both make their suggestions and to either accept or reject other people's suggestions in the system called the multi-signature, right? It's backed by the blockchain technology, and whichever, for example, we used to have this dividends coming out every week. Now we're going to have them every month. So it was someone's decision that we should have them every monthly rather than weekly, just to cut some of the little expenses that we have. And it was supported by the majority from the top 20. We signed it with multi-signature, and now it's an official decision that has been made, right? So, but if I were to veto it, it wouldn't have gone through to the next level. So no matter how much you've invested in this system, you will still have to agree with the other people who have invested in the project. You see, so we've come up with this coefficient that kind of secures, protects us from any people, like any 3 or top 5 people going crazy and say, let's just splurge all this money on, I don't know, a tower in the middle of Montenegro, and I don't know, whatever. Let's start paying more taxes. Like, let's just whatever do something crazy. No, this is supposed to be like a foolproof system, ideally. That would prevent this from happening. So yeah. And maybe you're referring to this person of the year or something. There was this award that we had.
No, I read something on the website. maybe it was a bad translation. It was talking about some leaders, and that word that triggered me a little bit because it didn't quite match up with a libertarian.
Maybe it's one way of us to just showing that we are actually real people, not some anonymous guys. Because a lot of people would like to prefer to stay anonymous for this reason or another. Not because we're involved in anything illegal, but because, for example, in Russia, for expressing some of our thoughts, we would probably be behind bars. And we're talking about long years behind bars. So we have this section called About Us, where we have some pictures of those people who have been with us ever since the very beginning of the project, maybe as a token of appreciation of their work, of their efforts. But basically, that's about it. Like, you just want to see those people who stood at the beginning of the project.
And if people were to join you or wanted to join you, are there any jobs, occupations that you urgently need here in the moment?
We're always are looking for new people at the construction. For example, we need a graphic designer, like someone who knows how to use AutoCAD, because there are going to be lots of jobs, I think, because we are going to be making some blueprints of the houses. Mm-hmm. And this is something that I've heard. Of course, we also need unskilled people who would like to work at the construction site. And some people have voluntarily done this just in order to perhaps make a contribution to the project. And one of the side projects called MTL-TV. You probably are aware of the fact that we bought some land and we're building some houses there. And all land has been sold out. But there's secondary market, like where you can still buy some, I guess, if there's any. What else? We've got some chats and channels on Telegram again dedicated to this, called MTL Jobs and things like that.
Okay.
Where, like, because we are a very small community, we wouldn't really offer jobs because there's no organization to start from. But we would handpick some of the best job offers on the market, right, here in Bar. And if it matches your qualifications, why not? You can actually go there and get it. So we facilitate the job search process.
I also would like to add that sometimes we have a lot of different people here. Some of them are very good employers. Some people give job not into the some close to the project. They have businesses, and they sometimes take people to their businesses out of the communities. For example, we have people with not that big businesses, but with businesses who actually have some more beliefs into the people who stay close to the ideas of libertarianism, of free will, of contracts, and etc. So you name it. So I get a job like that, for example.
There you go. Yeah, I mean, you would probably want to get someone who you can trust, and this whole community is built on trust.
Exactly. So some jobs, they need people who you can trust, and we have a quite high level of trust between us. And I've been offered exactly the same, exactly like that job, like that, where actually you don't want to people from outside. You want someone you can believe who, and here we are gathering like people with ideas, with principles, which we declare. We can't be sure that the things you declare, you actually into it really. You can see it always only in the long run. In the long term, you will see will people actually stick to the ideas. But for some of us, like me, for example, people have been seeing me for a lot of time, speaking to me, and some people actually believe that, for example, me personally, I believe into these principles. I stick to the principles. So I've been offered a job, for example. This man, he believes me a lot, and he gave me a lot of sensitive data, for example, because he understands that I have some principles and stuff. And this is one of the valuable part of this libertarian community, exactly, because it's some principles, very important principles.
And of course, libertarians wouldn't be libertarians if they didn't encourage starting up your own businesses, right? For example, the fund I think, offered 10,000 euro MTLs just to support those people who can come up with some like viable ideas for a business that would be working here and would help spread the word and help the local community. Right?
The club received some amount of money from the fund, I believe, right? No, or
through the issuance of the local token, you can actually own some part of this fund, and the club is partly owned by the fund.
Okay.
But you can actually come up with any idea, and you can just ask the small council of those top 20 people who invested in the fund. You can just pitch your idea, and if they like it, they will actually give you a little credit, monetary credit, so you can actually put it to practice.
Like venture investment.
Yeah, exactly.
like
Yes. But you don't even need that because, for example, if you have a good enough idea, like we didn't have like a working kitchen here, and now we've got a chef who comes to the club. Like she came up with this idea. Okay, what if I cook for the community and I accept payment in your MTL, etc. And now we've got a working business, and it's a win-win situation. Or we've got a professional masseuse who needed a massage table, so we bought it in Serbia, and now she's working her way to buy out this table, and of course she offers her services. Feel free to ask her. It's the 1st of January, so I don't think she would be available today, but maybe tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. So yeah, this is another working business model.
Very nice. Are you worried that you will be getting some issues with the government, that they will kind of want to throw stones in the movement's way? Or do you already have possibly some issues that you think that's maybe politically motivated?
We are quite far away from this moment, but we're thinking about it. What will be when we will be a noticeable community? We are quite far away from this, so we are not thinking much about it. But maybe we should.
Yeah, what Michael is probably saying is that we are too small to be noticed, and so we probably will, just go below the radars at the moment. But the system itself is built in such a way so as to withhold some pressure, because whatever property that we have here, we have it officially, legally. We have all the papers. So if they have some problems with the libertarian community, they're going to have to prove that we're here illegally or that we bought it illegally somehow, and that would be quite an issue for the country, because there are laws and they would still have to go to court for this. And when it comes to the activities related to the club and the EuroMTL even, well, technically, we are just a bunch of people exchanging some tokens that have no real value. So how can they even prove that what we're providing is services? No, I'm just treating you guys like yesterday. Lots of people came over and they just treated each other to whatever food they had to share. So it's a bit like that. And how can you have problems with this?
Another thing to add, in Montenegro, an outsider can't be involved into the political life of the country. So at the moment we can't actually make much difference here, at least.
And it's never been our purpose, to be honest.
Exactly.
Like we clearly stated on the website, and it's not just for show, because we hope to become the beacon of hope, like to become like a good role model, so that hopefully sooner or later some locals will start to see some of the positives and like how this community impacts the local region, and would like to join us, or at least to start thinking the same way. And this will make the country healthier economically, and in its turn, this will get them to actually start to think of their own rights and what the government is doing in a more critical way. But like we have far-reaching goals, but this is the idea.
Yeah, well, one of the basic ideas behind the project was to, at some point, to involve a lot of locals into the idea of how we actually can live. The alternative I've been talking about a bit later, when people just trying to remove bad government and put a good government, so we can actually do all the services which is traditionally been doing by the government, everything, schooling, medicine, and other. When we achieve this amount of services, so this quality services and stuff, at some point probably local people themselves will feel they don't need actually strong arms government who will decide for them, because they will be doing themselves everything. We're just trying to be
lead the way, basically.
Lead the way, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. Well, what we are trying to achieve here is we're hoping to build a viable system that would be independent, that would be quite persistent and possible to withstand all kinds of pressure from the outside, and that would be flourishing economically, so that people will look into this way of thinking more.
Oh, great.
So, yeah. Was that the last question?
Yeah, so far I
hope you're satisfied with our answers.
Yes, I am.
Okay, great. Well, say hello to our listeners and say Happy New Year, because it is actually the 1st of January. I kid you not. Yeah, we decided to get together. So
Happy New Year to everyone, to the listeners, and yeah, thanks for listening to us.
Okay, Michael, would you like to say a couple of words?
Goodbye.
Okay, this has been Jose Birken, and this has been Ralf, and of course, Michael. Thank you, and tune in for our other podcasts.
We will be back.
Absolutely, definitely. You will hear more of us this year. See you. Bye.
Bye.